Hi, this is Robin Way of Corios. I'm going to share with you today a walkthrough of a marketing campaign process that focuses on workflow, collaboration, and gap filling the needs of a marketing team that is struggling with a large number of campaigns, a high degree of decentralization, and the need to make all of the campaign processes more consistent, more agile, and more nimble. In the current state for this organization, there's a decentralized model, limited capacity, inconsistent approaches to how campaigns are built, a real focus on getting as many campaigns done in a limited amount of available time during the week. Some campaigns are very complex, and QC is mostly manual. What we're going to show in today's walkthrough is how we address virtually all of those challenges. So as we go through this walkthrough, these are the basic steps that you're going to see. What we're going to do is we're going to move through a standard checklist process, and there's really two checklists. This first one focuses on the design of the campaign, so emphasis on the campaign overview, campaign volume, exclusions, test and learn plan, file export, the target audience selection, a summary of that target audience selection, assignment of the treatments, the elements we're actually going to deliver in the email to the target audience, the schedule on which it's going to run, who's involved in approving this process, and we're also going to look at a process view. So the steps in the checklist, notifications, executing the campaign, status of the campaign, and any attachments and approval to execute. So let's start by focusing on the campaign overview. So this campaign is an ATM location notification via email to bank customers who live in New York, Pennsylvania, and Maryland. We've identified the people requesting the campaign and the people who are going to be generating the campaign, the dates on which they're going to be executing those tasks, the data sources of use to generate the target audience list, as well as the channels through which that campaign is going to be executed. So to build our target audience, this is the strategy that the segmentation and analytics team came up. Is first, the channel managers want to have opt-outs for email, and that also will include the people who don't have good email addresses, and we're going to exclude the universal control group. After we net out those exclusions, then we're going to split on the state of residence into New York, Pennsylvania, and Maryland, and then we're going to build the email creative, the email export file, and the response handling. So the first step in this is we're going to exclude email opt-outs. And this is actually called a link because this file or this list is maintained on a scheduled basis every night. To build that, we have a separate selection that looks like this. So any customers that have opted out of email, any customers where the email address is blank, the opt-outs are at the household level, and so we're going to map that to the customers in the household and then build a combined list of either of those groups, and then we're going to save that as a linkable cell called exclusion email opt-out. So to do that, we can go into the properties of this cell and we can select the data item from a folder. We have a variety of different criteria at the household level, so we're going to select opt-out email, and if the value of that data item is equal to 2, we can update the counts here. We can see that this is the group we want to select on. There's 5% of those folks have opted out of email, and we can update those counts. So now as of instantaneously, we can see how many households we have in that group. And if we want to update the entire set of counts, so we're going and running this job on the database, and we've just updated it, so we have 27 customers. So we just updated our count of email opt-outs, and that's what we're going to use to select and exclude people who've opted out of email or who are not deliverable. And you can see we're going to exclude anybody in that selection group. We're going to do the similar with a link to excluding universal control groups. And once we net those exclusions out, we can update that side of the counts. Or there's 27 customers we've dropped out due to email exclusions, and 3 customers we've dropped due to the universal control group, giving us a combined set of exclusions of 138. Now, if we want to split on the state, this is also where we're using a data item. We're using the customer state of residence, and we're saving New York, Pennsylvania, and Maryland customers. We can update that set of counts. We can see how many customers we have in each cell, and now we're ready to build the communication. This is what the communication actually links the list with the creative and the export and the schedule. So there are 3 cells, New York, Pennsylvania, and Maryland. We can see what the counts are. And the export is the file we're going to send to ExactTarget. So there's going to be a standard output path on our file system. There's going to be a parameter-driven name of the file, so it's going to have the campaign name, the communication name, the export date, and the occurrence number. Here's the fields that are going to be in that table. We have a set of selectable fields from folders. We have data items, we have campaign metadata, communication metadata, marketing cell metadata, and so on, and information about the creative package. So we've selected which fields we want to have in that list, and we've also appended a seed list, which, for example, includes the marketer's email, so you can track when the email actually gets executed through the email service provider. And we're done. We have 138 customers we'll be sending that email to. So next step is we can review our treatments that we're going to actually assign to each of those cells. And we've got 2 email treatments we're going to send. One is an email to the customers in New York State that has one particular kind of creative treatment, and another that we're going to send to all the other customers. These are called treatments 3 and 4. And we're going to assign the New York treatment 3 to the New York customers, and treatments 4 to the customers in other states. The schedule for this campaign is we're going to run it once on or just before the target date. So we're going to run it at 10 a.m. on the 29th. In terms of permissions, this is where we start to transition into workflow. So me, Robin Way, I'm the campaign analyst, but I can't actually approve this campaign. I want to run it by my manager, Fred Schaefer, who works with the channel manager, the marketing relationship manager, to make sure that this campaign meets all the specifications. And we have a second set of eyes on this whole process. So when I'm ready to start flagging all of these items to show Fred that I've gathered all the information, what I can do is I can flag it with, say, I can update the status of this page to, say, a yellow flag indicating that all of this information looks pretty ready to go. So I'll tag all those to show Fred that I think these are ready for him to review. Now that I've updated the status of all the major elements of this campaign, I'm ready to start going through the checklist and updating the status of the campaign. So here's a checklist that Fred and I and the other marketing stakeholders are going to use to make sure we've done everything correctly. So I, as the campaign analyst, our process is we tag everything in yellow. Fred will tag everything in green once he's approved it. I'm going to mark that this campaign has gone from initiating to design complete. And I can also review the list of notifications. So there's a standard set of notifications that are set up in advance when any of these workflow steps are completed. So when I submit this for approval, I'm going to send a request, and when I send it for approval, Fred's automatically going to get a copy of this email, and I'm going to get copied as well. This is the first version of this campaign, and you can see here I just tagged it as design complete, so it's tracking a copy of that status. And I can also create a campaign report that's going to document all of the contents of this particular campaign. That's going to automate the process of QA. And here's my document, table of contents, and then here's a full audit summary of everything done in my campaign to date. So I didn't have to write this document myself. It's all documented for me, which is pretty helpful. And it's attached right here to the campaign object so that I don't have to hunt around for it. All right, now pretty much I am ready to go and submit this for approval to Fred. So I'm going to request that, and I'll send him that request. Now when I do that, that's going to send an email to Fred and copy me. And here's an example of that email, including some of the campaign reference data, my message, and a link for Fred to open up the campaign. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to log out and I'm going to log in as Fred, and you'll see what this looks like when Fred does his approval process. Okay, so Fred logs in. You can see right here, here's the ATM email notification, September 2017, and his approval is requested. And Fred sees here that all the items are checked in yellow by me and that the status is approval requested. So Fred can start going through all the various steps. He can review the campaign overview and so on. And as he does that, he can change the tags from yellow to green, and he can also check that he's signed off on this particular page. And he can just go right down through this set of steps, complete all of his work. Okay, so now Fred has reviewed all of the items in the checklist. He's signed off on all of them. He's also updated the tags to all green across the board. And now it's ready to move to being approved. So here was the item where it shows that I'd requested approval. He's checked off on all the steps, so he can approve. And so approval has now been granted. And here's that status. So he's approved it. And I'll log in. I can see now that the campaign's been approved. So I'm getting a warning, don't make any changes because all this campaign has already been approved for me. So what I can proceed to do, I can see that all of the steps are now green. So I'm going to go to execute. I'm going to run a test file. So I can execute now. And my job's executed successfully. So I'm going to go take a look at my file. And here's my file. And here is the test list. So I can see my customer ID, my household ID, the email address, and so on. Down here at the bottom is my seed list. This is the email that's going to go to me. So let's return back to our workflow. So just to summarize, we initiated the campaign, gathered its requirements, started building the list, documented it, ran the QA report, got approvals, scheduled and executed it. And that wraps it up. I hope you have found this walkthrough helpful, and I look forward to helping you address any follow-on questions. If you want to get a hold of me, please contact me at this email address, rway@coriosgroup.com. I look forward to being of assistance. Thanks.